Welcome to PWS United, a podcast for the Prader-Willi syndrome community, brought to you by PWSA USA. This podcast gives the latest news in research, advocacy, and family support by bringing together staff, volunteers, PWS treatment specialists, biotech and pharmaceutical representatives, caregivers, family members, and individuals with PWS. Our goal is to share education, awareness, and resources with those living with PWS and their supporters. Join us in our mission to enhance the quality of life and empower those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to PWS United, a podcast for the Prader-Willi syndrome community. I'm your host, Carrie Ilijevich, and as you may have noticed, it is not Tuesday. We're doing things a little bit different this week, and I'm here to share a special bonus episode with you. Today, we're diving into an important conversation in honor of Make a Will Month, which takes place every August, and I'm joined by two wonderful guests. Melanie Zalman, PWSA's Director of Development and mom to Josie, and Tim Hearn, a longtime PWSA board member and dad to David. Together, we get into why planned giving matters, how it helps make sure PWSA can be here not just for families today, but also for families who will receive a PWS diagnosis in the future. Tim also shares his personal why for having a long-term giving plan and a little bit about his journey with PWSA. And then Melanie will break down just how easy it can be to make this kind of lasting impact. And as we celebrate PWSA's milestone 50th anniversary year, this conversation feels especially meaningful. It's really all about honoring the past, supporting our families, and building a strong foundation for the future. So without further ado, let's get into it. Tim, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. We're so happy to have you. Can you start by introducing yourself and sharing your personal connection to PWS and PWSA?
Sure. My name is Tim Hearn. I'm currently a member of the board of PWSA USA. I am the father of David, who is 33 years old and has PWS. He has two older sisters who are wonderful influences in his life. And I'm retired now. I was an attorney for 36 years with a law firm in Minneapolis, but I am retired now, enjoying retirement, grandchildren, and David. He lives in a group home here in town. We see him regularly, and he is living a happy and activity-filled life.
That is wonderful. And you're in Minnesota, correct?
Yes, in Minnesota, in the suburb of the Twin Cities.
Well, thank you for coming on and lending some of your insight into this subject matter. As mentioned, we're going to be talking about planned giving, legacy giving to celebrate and recognize August as National Make a Will Month. And also here to help me do that is our lovely Melanie Zalman, Director of Development. Hi, Melanie. Is there anything that you want to say before we get into some of our questions here?
First of all, thanks for the opportunity, Carrie. National Make a Will Month is a fairly recent day of importance added to the calendar just a couple of years ago by some organizations that wanted to kind of shine a light on the opportunity for people to utilize their will, their end of life plans as a chance to really make a difference for the organizations they care about. So PWSA USA, this is our second year participating in recognizing National Make a Will Month, and we're doing it by highlighting opportunities to be involved and to continue to support PWSA and all the organizations that you care for, as you make your plans in life and as you think about where you want to make a difference, long after you're gone. So, Tim, can you just express where do you feel you and your family would be today without PWSA USA?
Oh boy, that's hard to put yourself in. That's such a different world. We would be muddling along. We'd be here. David would probably be living with us, not in a group home. David would not be doing as well, just because, well, the things that have come along with PWSA, the growth hormone, and the supports, the educational supports, the housing supports, all of that would not be there. So we would have been kind of piecing it together ourselves. We're a strong family, and I've got a lot of family in town here. We'd be doing okay, but I'd frankly be very worried about some others with PWS who don't have some of the natural supports that I do. Yeah.
This year, 2025, we're celebrating PWSA USA's 50th anniversary. And, looking back over our time, our 50 years, first as a newly diagnosed family, as a parent of a child, and now, having been a committee member and now a board member, how would you describe the impact that you think or you feel PWSA's work has had overall on the PWS community?
The impact is huge. My son was diagnosed in 1996 when he was 4 years old. And that was just about the time, it was right around then that growth hormone was getting approved for use with people with growth hormone. He started on it 2 or 3 years later. The impact is huge in terms of some of the scientific advancements, but also the support, the community that PWSA USA creates. The possibility of community is just huge. I can't overstate that. The conferences, the community that comes out of those conferences, the contacts you make are huge in dealing with something like Prader-Willi. So I've used the word huge many times. Big, very big. I don't know what else to say.
I know that you're coming fresh off of our most recent conference in collaboration with IPSO and FPWR. And I think the fact that was able to take place during our 50th year was also especially important. Do you have anything to share about your experience having just attended our conference as well? You volunteered quite a bit, which was wonderful. Thank you for that.
Well, as I expressed to the board and staff before the conference, my wife and I have been going to the conferences since 1996 or 7. I'm not sure which the first one was, but one of those 2 years, and we've gone to every one since then. So we've heard all of the presentations many times. There are developments each year, but I felt our highest and best use was making sure it was a great conference for everyone who got to attend. I agree. The collaboration between FPWR and PWSA was wonderful, and IPSO. Let's not forget IPSO. But the collaboration by the U.S. organizations was wonderful. I hope to see that continue. But it really, bringing our two communities together, and saying two communities, there's a huge amount of overlap in those two communities. But bringing them together, combining our forces, I think it bodes very well for the community.
Well, over the years, 30 plus years, both you and Carol have been involved with PWSA USA in lots of different ways. Are there moments in time or roles or experiences that stand out the most during that time?
The primary role is as a parent. This comes down to fundamentals. We're parents of a young man or a man with PWS, and that's been a huge part of our life, our whole family's life. As far as PWSA experiences, the conferences, as I said, I attended the first conference. I went by myself because we came up on pretty short order. We learned we had the diagnosis, and then I think I went and did an AOL search, I think, at that point. An AOL search identified this organization, made a phone call to the local state chapter president, and he put me on to, referred me to Jim and Joan Gardner. And so I talked to them, learned there was a conference, said, I'll go. We couldn't both go because it was coming up on too short order. We both were attorneys with young family, et cetera. So I went, and attending that first conference, I said, we both have to go to these conferences. And we have ever since. Not both of us every time. Our schedule didn't always allow, but one of us always got to the conference. My biggest memories of PWSA involvement is the conference, and as I said before, the community that comes out of those conferences. The contacts you make are just huge.
Lifelong friendships, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Our son is living in a group home with 3 other people with Prader-Willi about his age, all of whom we've known since they were toddlers. We've known their parents since they were toddlers. He's known them since they were toddlers. So it really, I mean, that never would have happened without PWSA.
So, what is it about PWSA that keeps you involved and just wanting to continue to support the organization as we move into our next 50 years?
I think it's the realization that there's, the organization's been a lot of help for us, but there's a continuing need for help. I mean, there's a because of the nature of it, children are born every year with Prader-Willi, and so there are families behind us every year going back. We've been dealing with it for 33 years. There are families coming on the scene now, and the idea that PWSA USA might not be there for them, that I would be sick if that happened. So continuing to support PWSA, providing long-term support is very important to us.
It's
So well
really
said.
moving. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carrie.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to comment how well said that was. I think that really resonates on a giant scale of, the adult parents who can completely relate to that, I'm sure, especially receiving all of the benefits for so many years that PWSA is able to give, all the way to the new parents who appreciate the help and support from the older parents. I think that is just this, again, big, giant community, and there's just all love all around. So, yeah, you just hit the nail on the head, Tim.
I'd mentioned I'm on the board of a nonprofit that raises money for the international organization for IPSO. I'm on Friends of IPSO, which raises money in the U.S. for them, and through that I've been exposed to some of the international situations, and it is heartbreaking, and it really opens your eyes when you hear about families in countries where they say, I didn't know there was anyone else with Prader-Willi. I didn't know what this was. You've put me in touch with a community, a worldwide community, and we're going to try and find other people in my country who have this condition. We know they're there. They're just not identified. We haven't been able to connect. Beyond PWSA, there's a huge task to go on internationally around the world to raise awareness of Prader-Willi.
Well, as a parent of a younger child with PWS, my daughter is 7. I know I spend a lot of time thinking about all the work that's been done, before I joined this community, and how fortunate I feel that it's a time where so much has been made possible, with the advancements of growth hormone, 30 years ago almost now. And then, the new drugs that are being approved and the new discoveries that are being made, new therapeutic and behavioral interventions. I feel very fortunate to kind of ride on the shoulders of families like the Hearns and others that have done so much of the legwork for so long and have carried the torch, again, thinking in advance about all the families that are coming after them. So it's really moving to hear, Tim talk about his experience, and to think about, maybe where will I be in my journey 30 years, 30 years from now, and what will that look like? So what inspired you, Tim, to include PWSA USA in your plans, especially knowing that your gift is going to help carry out this mission for the next generation of families?
It's a lot of what we've been talking about, but being involved with PWSA, my wife was on the board for a 9-year stretch, chair of the board for a while, for eight of those 9 years. A few years later, I joined the board. I'm now on the board, and just seeing through her service and through my service, the financial challenges that PWSA faces, that all small nonprofits face, but seeing it from the inside, the inconsistency of revenue streams and how they change over time, and having to continually reinvent the ways you can raise money. That inspires me. It makes me realize that this is a fragile beast, and there was a point during when Carol was on the board, where the money from the pharmaceutical companies went away. I'm not sure exactly what precipitated it, but they lost interest in obesity drugs and went a different direction. And it was just devastating. the organization had to shrink, had to pull back, had to retrench. And, was it going to go out of existence? Probably not, but could have become an all-volunteer organization, which is much harder to sustain and much harder to make headway. We're thankfully not in that position now. We're growing, we're strong. We've got a lot we've got more than one revenue stream, but I've seen what can happen, and it can happen very quickly. So that's part of my motivation, is to try and steady the ship, so to speak, and give it a firm base.
Well, I think you really touched on it, Tim. It's a lot about sustainability. I mean, there are people listening to the podcast and people who are longtime supporters of PWSA USA, and it doesn't matter whether it's $100 a year or $10,000 a year. People who make regular contributions, and a lot of times we wonder as an organization, what will we do when these people aren't with us anymore, when they're not able to make these meaningful contributions, whether it's year end or connected to a particular program or initiative. So it's great to hear how much you have like the long-term sustainability of the organization in your heart and in your mind, in making this big commitment that you've made to the organization and your will. How did it feel to make this gift, and how was it logistically to take care of? A lot of people can be overwhelmed by this process of making a will or making a change to their will to include an organization they care about.
I mean, obviously it felt good. Just the idea that we were contributing to the future of PWSA and to making sure it's around in the future. It's gratifying. It's not the only thing we're supporting. I mean, you have to make that point. It is not an all or nothing thing. We are doing this for some organizations. We are doing it for our family too. Reserving assets for them, but we definitely wanted a piece of that to go to PWSA, just because of what they've done for us and what we want them to do for others in the future.
So what would you say to folks in our community who are thinking about, making this commitment to PWSA USA in their will or their estate plan?
I'd say, why not? Well, as I just said, it's not an all or nothing thing. PWSA is not greedy, but just remember us in your will, provide something. And it also is not, it doesn't have to be a big event or a big process right now. You can just commit to it and say, I am going to do this. And that's important. That's useful for the organization to just have that commitment. When it gets documented, when it gets fulfilled, described, the lawyers get involved, etc., that can be later. But it's making that mental commitment that I want something from my accumulated assets. I want something to go to PWSA. That's the key step.
It's really exciting because it's not really, you said it, it's not about, how much or what percentage or when you make the commitment. It's really about being able to realize in your lifetime while you are here that your vision for a future where, people with PWS can live longer, healthier, more empowered, more full lives. You're able to know in this lifetime that will be something that will carry on without you, which I think is a really meaningful, powerful thing to know. If your planned gift could ultimately make one lasting difference for PWSA or for the PWS community as a whole, what do you hope that difference could be?
Yeah, it would be what I've hit upon before. It'd be financial stability for the organization. We've been involved for 33 years. We've seen it through ups and downs. I think it's in a good place now. I think it's on a very good trajectory, but things can change very quickly. And providing more financial stability, more long-term assets. Most nonprofits like to talk about having an endowment, a big endowment and whatever. We've got some funds stored away, some that would be labeled endowment, but it's nothing. It's not a sustaining endowment. It's not something to sustain the organization. We depend today on what are our yearly revenues this year that determines what we can do. I would love to see that change, to give the organization the freedom to have some knowledge that it's got stability, that it's got income that it can rely on. And that would just free the organization up to make many more long-range decisions and do more long-range planning, which would be good.
That's a brilliant legacy, Tim. We're coming up on September. When Make a Will month is over here in August, we'll be headed into September, and in late September on the 26th, we're gathering with hundreds from our PWS community to celebrate our 50th anniversary and to honor people who've really played a big role in sort of charting the course for our organization. So as we gather and celebrate a half a century of hope and progress, what is your greatest wish for the future of PWS and for the future of the organization?
It's growth, continued progress. There are things going on the scientific side that are really exciting. I mean, the recent approval of the first hyperphagia drug is a piece of that. I mean, I think there will, unless and until there is some cure found, which I would put decades away if ever. But unless and until that's found, the support that PWSA provides to families is key. And I'd want the organization continue to progress in that field. I mean, I know the staff has all sorts of ideas. Given the resources, we would be doing many more things than we already are, and we're doing an awful lot. So that's my hope is stability, financial stability, and continued growth.
I think there's a lot to consider there. I think that, even with this first FDA approved treatment for hyperphagia, which, as all of us with kiddos with PWS know, is only just one big part, but one part of the different systems and different challenges that are affected by PWS diagnosis. As there are more treatments for more aspects of it, the need for family support is going to continue, and if anything, increase as we address other challenges that come with PWS. So, we're going to need to be around and relevant and informed and supportive of all our families for many, many years to come. There are lots of families listening who may be in the NICU today, or maybe just starting their own journey of hope with their loved one with PWS. What advice would you share with those families today?
My advice would be to join the community. There's a community on offer. PWSA USA can put you in touch with other people in your position, other people 5 years ahead of where you are now. Join the community because it's going to be the greatest help you can find anywhere. Attend a conference is the other one. It is really helpful. I just remember my first conference when our son was 4 years old. He'd just been diagnosed. We didn't know where it was going. And going to the conference, hearing all these people talking, these scientists, these doctors talking in detail about this and that, and support conference sessions on IEPs, on schooling, on behaviors, on sleep, on all these things. It was so helpful just to know that there are people here who are looking at all those things, who know something about them, and they can be there for us. So don't being alone, feeling isolated is the worst thing that can happen when you have a child with a disability like this. And joining the community, put yourself into the community, go to a conference, make the connections. That's my advice.
That's lovely. And a nice kind of well-rounded answer there to round us, put a nice bow on our interview here. Yeah, thank you so much, Tim. So before we end here, I really quick wanted to ask you, Melanie, how can people take action to make a planned gift or do something, to leave a legacy with PWSA financially? What can people do?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked, because taking action, it might sound overwhelming, but as Tim described it, it can be really easy. If you have a will, consider updating it to include PWSA USA as a beneficiary, whether it's a specific amount, a percentage, a remainder. a beneficiary of a life insurance policy, usually you can speak with your attorney or estate planner. You can add a codicil to your will or some very simple language without having to kind of reinvent the wheel. Let us know if this is something that you are doing or something that you have done so that we can talk with you about it and recognize your generosity. And last but not least, you can go directly to our website, pwsausa.org/make an impact planned giving, and you can get all kinds of information there about how to create a lasting legacy, and how to make these plans for yourself, including sample language, and some testimonials from other people who have done the same. There's even a little place where you can fill out a form expressing your interest, and myself or someone else from our leadership team will get back in touch with you so that we can, work with you to do it in the way that will be meaningful and will help you have the lasting impact that you want to make for the organization. So thanks again, Tim, for sharing all of your insight. And thank you to Carrie for giving us the opportunity to shine a little light on National Make-A-Will Month this August.
Yeah, it's an important topic and something very important to PWSA. Like you said, Tim, for sustainability, to sustain all the things that we're doing. So, yep, important to touch on. And we will definitely have all of the links that Melanie mentioned in our show notes. And I will also put the link to register or purchase tickets for our gala in September, since we mentioned that. So go and check it out. But yeah, thank you both so much for taking the time. This has been great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you for listening to this episode of PWS United. If you want to learn more about Prader-Willi syndrome and how PWSA USA is making strides in advocacy, family support, and research, visit www.pwsausa.org. And while you're there, we encourage you to sign up for our Pulse email newsletter to stay informed about the latest news, resources, and events. Don't forget to subscribe to the PWS United podcast so you never miss an episode. Our team is always available to support families and their loved ones living with PWS 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can call us at 941-312-0400 or email info@pwsausa.org. Catch a new episode next Tuesday, and until then, have a great week.